Welcome everybody back to the Buzz. We do this every week. We try to zip through a half hour with some guests. My running mates, Jim Patrick and Cameron Salerno of the B. It's the Buzz. We just try to have fun, insight, video, some commentary and all that good stuff. It's a great time of the year. We're going to break down the Sac Joaquin section championships in basketball and soccer, and also the opening round in those sports for the CIF Northern California Regionals. And of course, we're going to look ahead. But first, let's touch on the McClatchy High School girls again. And we're going to run this video because it's still news. This is from last week, a Sac Joaquin section Division I game, and a McClatchy player hits a runner down the lane. The fans think it's a game winner. It's actually a shot clock winner. Buzzer beater, I should say, and then the fans rush the floor. We talked about that exhaustively. It's kind of gone viral. There was still time left on the clock. So what happens? McClatchy still goes to the NorCal Regionals and is a number 2 seed in Division II, but is on the road. Played its opener in San Mateo against Aragon, and then plays tonight at Antelope, which is the 10th seed. Why is this happening? How does a high seed travel? Well, it's a form of punishment or reprimand by the CIF governing body to basically say in so many words that it's not okay for the fans to rush onto the floor when there's still the game going on. Okay, we'll accept that. But what about the real problem? The real problem was with the referees, how they blundered so bad and not recognizing or not caring that the clock ran out and just kind of got swept in it. The blame still lays on them. So we still have not heard from the Referees Association. They owe somebody an explanation. It's okay to admit that you're human, that you make mistakes. I've heard from other referees who said they're embarrassed by what happened in that game, and it's not reflective of all of those guys. So there you have it in a nutshell. McClatchy girls basketball, great fans. They lost a little bit. They ran onto the floor. Now they pay the price by having to travel, be road warriors. And so you have it. It's one of those things I'd like to see. I'm certainly hopeful that the referees who worked that game were suspended for the rest of this postseason. That's just got to be a teachable moment of what not to do. All right. Before we dig into all this basketball, NorCals and soccer and all such, let's talk about what's going on at Sacramento State women's basketball. Mark Campbell wrote a column this week. I did this week on Coach Mark Campbell is a first-year coach for the Hornets. They're the most improved team in America for women's basketball. 3 wins last year, 14 wins this season. This is going to be a powerhouse. We'll talk to Cameron Salerno of the B about this a little bit later, but he has helped build programs at Oregon and Oregon State, help them get nice facilities. If somebody wants to help Sac State with nice facilities, you're a deep-pocketed donor, reach out to Coach Campbell, because that's what they need. They have the worst facilities in America, but one of the best coaches in America. And so kudos to the Hornets coming light years. I think this is a program that could get that can win Big Sky Conference tournament championships, which means you get into the NCAA tournament, and then anything could happen. Just be great visibility for that program. So check that out, sacb.com. And kudos to first-year coach Mark Campbell and that gritty bunch of girls that have gone from the dregs, 3 wins, to getting into the Big Sky tournament. All right, back to the high schools. High school sports is a grand thing around here, and it's especially so off of Grand Avenue in Del Paso Heights, the home of the Grant Pacers. And I always am intrigued. I think Grant is one of the most amazing storylines, football, basketball, any sports, because sports means so much to this community. And we had Javier Moscar. I got muted there. This is Grant taking on Granite Bay in the section championships the other night, Friday night at Golden One. So it's good action. Coach Denard Wilson from Grant was very moving in the post-game speech. They defended Division II championship, and he said it means a lot because we've lost a lot in our community. He said COVID has especially hit our community. It hit him hard. He thought he might die. He lost his mother to COVID, and he lost his sister to COVID. So it hit him very hard. He was emotional. His team stood behind him and rallied in that post-game to show him strength. And and sports and athletics are important for that community, for any community, certainly. But for Grant, we've seen it happen. It helps shape a lot of young lives. It helps save a lot of kids, keeps a lot of kids off the streets. They're very open about that. there's hell and chaos just down the street anywhere in those neighborhoods, and the players are motivated and inspired over the decades that I've seen them to do well. And Rashad Brown, their star player, senior, said, we have an obligation as Grant Pacers to show the younger generation of players coming in through the ranks through Grant High School of how to do it. Don't be as good as us, he says, be better than us. Keep being good students, good citizens, good role models, and play every game like it means something. And there's Rashad right there as he finishes off that game and that championship with a dunk. And so kudos to the Grant Pacers. They lost their NorCal opener to Granada of the Bay Area, and Granada plays at Intercom in a Division One NorCal regional. But it's still a great moment for the Pacers, and kudos to the coaches and the kids there. And there's Carl Reed, the football coach, hugging Denard Wilson on the right there, and there you have it. So it's in all my years doing this, Grant football and Grant basketball are just continuous, compelling storyline. So just neat to see and great to have that video. And it also shows that, success is fleeting. Getting to the NorCals and nothing's guaranteed. All right. This is guaranteed. We didn't have him last week because he was traveling. He was out of the country doing whatever, finding his passport. But here's Jim Patrick. He's back. He's our editor. He's our friend. He's helped us really raise the high school awareness around here. Jim, I don't know if you were in Ariba or Colombia or Cuba or whatever, but where were you? And we're just glad you're back.
Mentally, I was at work, Joe. I was reading section championship stories. And hey, can we address how awesome those uniforms are that the Grant basketball team has? Los Pacers? Come on! That's the coolest thing I've seen.
And the Grant, so they appreciate their history. And that's all Denard Wilson, who's not a Grant graduate, but he's now a Grant Pacer. He's been there for a long time. And they also have other jerseys, Jim, that say the North. And yeah. What's that mean? Well, North Sacramento. They have their names on the back.
It's cool
because it means a lot to those kids. And so that was a great catch. I saw that the other night. So I got to make sure I mention that in the story. I didn't. But anyway, so
I was traveling last week. I was in scenic St. Lucia, but I was reading section championship stories every morning and following along with what was going on. And I feel like I'm reasonably primed to talk about soccer today, Joe. I feel like I understand it.
Not just reading them because he's a junkie. He's reading them out of obligation because he's the guy who is doing a quick edit, making sure everything looks right, the right photos, and posting it. And when you're doing it from across the globe, we appreciate it. So, all right, tell us what stands out about girls soccer, boys soccer, these section championships. Now we're in the NorCals. What struck you?
Two teams really stick out to me in general, Joe, with soccer, and you have to talk about the Oak Ridge girls soccer team. You got to talk about the. Now, here's video here of Oak Ridge. This game was 1-0, and it was 1-1, maybe 35 minutes into the game, and then Oak Ridge just exploded for 3 goals. They went on to win 8-1. And that's a section championship, Joe. We're not talking about like some first round thing. This is a section championship game. They won 8-1. That is a ridiculous score, especially if you look at the other section championships. I'm just pulling up my list here to make sure I get it right. There were Pioneer and Whitney and Vista del Lago all won section championships. They won on penalty kicks. Right. So this game to win 8-1 in a section championship game when 3 other local champions are crowned through penalty kicks. I mean, it speaks to the dominance of this team, this Oak Ridge team that's one of the best in the country, according to Max Preps. Soccer is such a weird sport to do rankings for. We don't play schools from outside of the state of California, so who's to say? But I mean, we can clearly say that Oak Ridge is just a powerhouse on the girls' side. So and then that carries over to the boys' side. The Whitney boys. I've been texting with Joel, their coach, today. He's hoping the team shows up and they can make a run. They're playing a semifinal game today. They're going on to the finals, hopefully on Saturday. And Joel Williams' team won the section championship game 5-0, Joe, on the Whitney boys' side. So just.
And then here we are. This is at where the FC Republic plays. So kudos to them for hosting it. Now it's not camera faulty issues or filters. That is kind of a brownish field. Which is kind
they
of
let it go dormant
time of year, but that's okay.
These kids it'll be green for the season opener next week, I bet. But there they are charging on the field. This means a lot to these Whitney guys. You know, they've been texting me that they weren't happy with their ranking, or they were polite about it, but they thought they should be the top ranked team in the area, and I told them to just keep winning, and then they did keep winning. So kudos to me, really, for lighting.
Kudos, yes, we throw out kudos.
But hey, I wanted to point out real quick, Rio Americano had a great year. They won a section title 2-0. Vista Del Lago, so both Vista's boys and girls team won titles. And Vista, we're actually covering a Vista boys game tonight in the NorCal section semifinals. So it certainly isn't the case that just Whitney and Oak Ridge had great years, but man, they had extremely impressive years in years that nobody else equaled. It was some pretty incredible stuff this year.
And the NorCals, the CIF NorCals is a newer thing. It's great. It's just, because for years, like, how good is this section against the Bay Area and whatever. Now we're finding out. And that's always been the case. It's 40 years now. This is the 40th year for the state basketball tournament. And so that's been going on a long time. In baseball and softball, we'll have NorCal regionals this spring for the first time. That's where we're heading. It's been a push. Let's see what we can do without it sprinkling into July or something. I don't think we'll ever see a state championship. Maybe. But it's hard, Jim, because this state is so populated.
Huge.
There's 1,500 high schools. It's hard to do.
It's good. It's good. I do see you got to like the trajectory that we're on. You got to like that. Club sports are obviously incredibly important, and I'm not trying to take away from it when I say it's good to see high schools clawing back a little bit and getting a little more importance maybe for soccer. I love that the soccer community is texting us and they're fired up about their rankings because it says that there's more to there's more to their sports experience than clubs. There's more than getting recruited at these elite camps and all that stuff. So. And again, no disrespect to clubs, but it seems like the high schools are really clawing back a little bit of importance or trying to take advantage of what they do have, which is a statewide platform. And to say that you are the best team in the state or one of the best teams in the state, that means something to these guys, to play with your local school, your buddies, and to make a statement. So it's good to see that these tournaments exist. I'd love to see a state tournament for soccer, but I'll take what I can get. If it's NorCal championship, that's fine. That's immensely impressive nonetheless.
Well said. And we're this spring we're going to dig into some big picture stories, including the influence of club. And it's been a problem not a problem, but it's been a topic of debate and discussion for a lot of years for a lot of sports. So we dig into those things. Jim, welcome back. Good to have you. And you're right. Soccer's roaring right along. We got all kinds of girls and boys teams still in the NorCals. Too many teams to list here, but check out the state CIF.org site. All those brackets are right there.
Just trying to keep up with it this time of year. That's all we can do.
We'll see you soon, sir.
Take care, see you.
All right. Let's bring in Cameron Salerno, our running mate. He works hard, and he's worked so hard. And not only does he have a cat, but check out the grand piano. This is an outrage.
Yeah, I just moved in my new house in Grand Bay. Hit the lottery, so it feels good. Just kidding, it's a nice background. And my cat hates me right now. I don't think he's too happy to be on here, but
I think the cat was inside the piano. Of course, if you could confess here, sir, it's actually a backdrop that I saw that and I said, who moved the piano? I
gotta let the cat out of my room before he tries to escape.
There you go. So there's Cameron's fake backdrop. But if we see the cat all of a sudden on top of the piano, then we're on to it. So, hey, so we have NorCal basketball, but let's go back a few days. You did a great job on the coverage all season on Folsom, which has come on strong. Oak has been a power forever under Coach Steve White. And these two teams, rivals not too far away, up Highway 50, Sierra Foothill League members, and we're going to run this video and you just take it from there. Tell us who won and why it was such a big deal for the.
Yeah, I mean, Oak Ridge is a historic program, like you mentioned. They won a state title in 2010 under Steve White, and he said this is probably his best team since then. And how cool is it that there's two public schools on the biggest stage in high school sports in the Division I final? This is a bracket that's been dominated by St. Mary's. St. Mary's obviously won 8 section finals in a row in the Division I bracket. it's good. There's
And
two
13
public.
overall and 20 of 23 St. Mary's, the Rams of Stockton. Yeah, just a heavyweight. And now it's the first time in years, you're right, Cameron, that we had two public schools in the finals, and it can be done. And there's Coach Steve White getting all the hug treatment. So just a great job. And then, there's Tegan Brown, who Coach White has said is the best player he's ever coached. That includes Sarah James, who was on that 2010 team, played at Stanford. But you've seen Sarah. Oh, you didn't see Sarah James, but you've seen a lot of Tegan Brown. What does she do that makes her so good, and why is she heading to Washington on a scholarship?
She's such a good all-around player, and I know it's easy to say that, but she kind of reminds me a little bit of Tyrese Halliburton. Just plays good defense, is a good facilitator, good shooter. I mean, she just does everything, and she's a special player. And I know the B player of the year will be announced in a few weeks, but she's definitely the front runner right now, just what she did. And obviously Oak Ridge beat Pinewood last night, who's definitely a big heavyweight in Northern California. So good for Oak Ridge, good for public schools, and good for the Sac Joaquin section for having those two
excellent
teams.
And we're going to touch on Oak Ridge and Folsom in the NorCal Open, and are they worthy? We're going to do that in a minute, but first let's take another team that's had a good run that we expected. The Laguna Creek girls. Paul Gitagaki, one of our terrific photographers, got this. Here they are celebrating their section championship win the other night in Division II over Antelope, which was the two-time defending champion. And Laguna Creek of the Oak Grove Unified has Ray Young, Zoe Tillery. And this team has come a long ways, Cameron. They were in the dregs just a few short years ago. Cody Norman, their coach, has done marvelous work, and they're still alive in the NorCals too.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of like Folsom, and Folsom had that weird stretch where they went. I don't know what the exact record was. I think it was like they lost 29 league games in a row. And I think Laguna Creek, before the seniors came in as freshmen in 2018, I believe, went 3-24. So it just speaks to how that program has really turned around in a really short time. Ray Young's a really good player, good person to talk to after the game. And it's interesting, Joe. I mean, I think you know this. When you talk to people that you maybe have covered a lot, like Ray Young or Tegan Brown, there's only so many different ways to tell a story. And so I thought it was really interesting what she told me after the game. She said, I contemplated quitting basketball after my sophomore year, and it was a confidence issue. And she told me that because she was in foul trouble the first half of the game. I think she picked up 3 fouls in the first half. She told me that if that was her sophomore year, she would have completely checked out of the game. And she said she learned that basketball is a game of runs, and it's bound to happen. And so she's really matured as a player over these last few years, and it's the reason why Laguna Creek won it all. So I think it's really interesting to see just the stories of these kids, because we know them as the star player because she's going to University of Tulsa. We know Tegan Brown as
scholarship.
Yeah.
Full scholarship, and good job in talking to her. And these kids are competitors, and when they lose, that maybe they'll bail out. But the maturity of Ray Young, the maturity of the program, the great coaching of Cody Norman, and here they are. They're in a NorCal still. Check those brackets. They're hosting a game tonight. So on Tuesday, I got to see Folsom in Division I NorCal boys take on Dublin, a longtime Bay Area power, and beat Dublin. And this is Hector Mezcua with some great art. I'm just so impressed with this program over the years, Cameron, and it all starts with Coach Mike Wall, who stresses fundamentals. You got to box out. You got to set screens. You have to make that extra pass. And yeah, it sounds like just a lot of words, but it's true. We don't see it in the NBA a lot. We see a lot of shooting in the NBA, but in the high school level, the elite programs, the Folsoms, the Oak Ridges on the girls' side, the Laguna Creek on the girls' side, and Sheldon boys and Intercom boys, Modesto Christian boys, Folsom boys, they do all of those fundamental things, and that's how they survive. And this is a Dublin guy who took a flop, coach's son. And terrific player, but he did not get the call. So you have to be sound on offense as well. And that's throws in there for Folsom. And Folsom is still alive. And Folsom plays tonight, Cameron. They get to host Clovis North of Fresno in a chance to win a Northern NorCal game. Folsom lost in the section semifinals to Modesto Christian, which went on to win the section championship, beating Sheldon. Modesto Christian, Sheldon both went on the NorCal Open. They always go there. And then Folsom is in the NorCal Division I and is hoping to get another win. So good job there. So Folsom's got it going. Football, girls basketball, boys basketball, wrestling has won a ton in recent years. Baseball has done good things. Softball's done good things. So it's a
Soccer
thriving
too.
school. A lot of people bristle about that. A lot of people insist it's all because of transfers and whatever. I think some of that's sour grapes. No, it's become a destination school for academics. Teachers want to go there. Coaches want to go there. Parents want to send their kids there. So they're rolling right now. But the school is too large right now. I think they're about 3,000. They're going to open a new school in Folsom here in the next couple of years, which will help. You can't have schools just overflowing like that, and they understand that. But they're rolling right now, and I don't know if it's going to end anytime soon in any of those sports.
No, I don't think so. I know you mentioned it earlier, but let's touch on the Open division. And you brought up a good point, and I think it's a good question. Was Folsom and Oak Ridge worthy for the Open? I think they were. I think they definitely are. But
we have video. Let's have David run that video. Okay, so this is Folsom girls taking on Clovis West down in Fresno, and Clovis West won 51-48. And the debate was, Cameron, and I'll set you up here: are Folsom girls and Oak Ridge girls, are they NorCal Open worthy? That's for the elite of the elite. Normally, the private schools. Neither one of them have been in the Open. Folsom has never been this good before. So take the floor, sir. What do you think?
Well, Joe, I'm taking the law class right now, so I'm learning you have to every criteria has to be met in order for argument to be worthy. So were they worthy of being an Open division? Yes, but should they have been? No, because they're two public schools from the Sac Joaquin section. Obviously, Folsom has had success recently, but not as good as this season. And Oak Ridge won their first section title in 10 years. And so I just have a problem with the CIF bumping up teams who could potentially lose in the first round. I mean, what's the point of having a team get bumped up just for them to lose in the first round? And both had to travel. I mean, Folsom had to travel 3 hours to Clovis, and Oak Ridge had to travel 3 hours to the Bay Area. So what's the reward in that? I mean, you have teams like St. Mary's of Stockton who lost in the semifinals, and they got rewarded with a number 2 seed in Division I bracket. And
should have been St. Mary's girls should remain in the Open division. If you've been in the Open division ever since it was created in 2013, then stay there, because St. Mary's lost on the last second play that you wrote about and we talked about last week to Folsom. And I agree with you. So Folsom and Oak Ridge girls, they want to be elite. They are section elite. We know that. Yeah. But to bring them into the Open division almost as bracket fillers seems a bit much. Now, they both show that they're worthy because Folsom almost won that girls' Open game, and Oak Ridge did. But now Oak Ridge taking on number 1 Carondelet of Concord with 1 loss, a powerhouse. So we'll see. And same thing happened with the boys. And now we have some video of the boys. Clovis North taking on Sheldon. Sheldon's been a regular Open team. They won the last 2 and got to the last Open final before COVID came in. So Sheldon fully expected to be in the Open and is fine with that. It's a public school. It's done well. It's won those things. And Clovis North, coached by Vance Wahlberg, who's one of the great coaches in high school basketball, has been an assistant coach in the NBA, including with the Kings a few years ago under George Karl. And Sheldon was up 14-2 in this game and was ready to seize it, but Clovis North came all the way back and crawled it out and won the game. Modesto Christian beat Midi in another NorCal Open. So those teams, there's no debate there. And Sheldon's a public school. And a lot of times it's the only public school in that tournament. Campo Lindo is the number 1 seed in the Bay Area, Moraga public school. So it's always a debate. But let's conclude with this, Cameron. It's better to have the Open division than not to have it. Because then the private schools are winning it in Division I, Division II, Division III, Division IV, and right on the line. And the public schools outnumber the private schools 10-1, across the state. So
I have one more thought.
Yes, sir.
Just to show let me preface by saying this. The people who make the brackets, we don't know who they are, but they have a very tough job. But with that being said, how is it fair for a team like Granite Bay, who went to the section final and lost and beat Whitney, to get the number 15 seed in Division II and having to travel? Meanwhile, this is just an isolated example. Whitney, who lost in the semifinals to Granite Bay, got the number 3 seat in Division III and gets to host 2 games.
It's a little confusing, and it's a competitive equity model. You move a team up, you move them down. It's a lot of data to crunch. These NorCal selection committee guys are a lot of former coaches. They go to games, they watch games on live stream. A thankless task. But we do know this from football, basketball, baseball, softball, any sport where they're seeding soccer. Everybody feels like they got the wrong seed unless they're 1 or 2, and everybody doesn't agree with the opponent. Hey, man, you're in. You're in. And so just take it from there. And there's a misconception, Cameron, that, why didn't this school say we want to go this division or that? It's not up to that school because every school would try to go down. It used to be that way. And we'd have these private schools in the Bay Area, and they'd say, well, we're going to go Division 4 this year because we think we could win it. And then next year they'll go Division 2, and then they'll drop down to Division 3. Can't do that anymore. So, and then here's the other thing, Cameron, as we're going to preview some games here. Appreciate what you have, coaches and players and alums and faculty and families, because a year ago we had none of this. A year ago we were wondering, hey, when is high school sports going to come back? It's back. The mask mandates have been lifted. We're getting back closer to normal. So kudos to that. All right, Cameron, I'm just going to zip through some of these games that we have tonight. If you got any comments, just raise your hand or go play the piano. Girls Division 1, NorCal's, Laguna Creek at top-seeded Salesian, Vanden at St. Ignatius of San Francisco, Cardinal Newman of Santa Rosa at St. Mary's of Stockton. Salesian is a team that Folsom, I believe, beat earlier. It's a long-time power.
And Antelope Berry
Laguna Creek. So we'll see what happens. If Laguna Creek could pull this off, there you go. Vanden, Division 3 section champs, moved up to Division 1. How can that be? Hey, you're worthy of Division 1. That could have been some argument of Vanden going into the Open because they've had more years of success than Oak Ridge and Folsom in section finals. All right, Division 2, Piedmont of the Bay Area at the Lincoln Zebras. Katie Leaf is the post player for Lincoln. And then McClatchy girls,
3, I believe.
Yeah, is that okay? And then McClatchy, Division 2, McClatchy at Antelope. You're going to that game. We touched on it earlier. McClatchy is the 2 seed. Why are they traveling? Well, it's the punishment thing from the fans. So we'll see what happens here. This is Sean Chambers.
Best local game
he was going to host.
Yeah, best local game, I think, of the entire slate, at least in the sock walking section of 2 local Sacramento teams who obviously are familiar with each other. McClatchy and Laguna Creek was kind of neck and neck in our rankings the entire season. Obviously, we know about Mary Carter Antelope, who had 34 points on Tuesday in the opener of the against James Logan. And so I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I can honestly see it going either way. I mean, let's just hope that there's no fan interference or no referee.
They'll have barbed wire out there, I'm sure, or something to keep people back.
I'll storm the court. I'll make sure.
I can't wait.
Someone gets a foul shot.
Division 3 girls, another team that moved up. Dixon Rams win section Division 4, first time ever in the section finals, move up in level. I think they'll be fine. They're playing at Oakland Tech. Division 4, Placer Hillman. You've seen them playing at second-seeded Calaveras. These are all games tonight, 6 p.m. Check the CIFstate.org website for all the brackets. Division 5, Crystal Springs of the Bay Area at top-seeded Bear River in our area. Jen Krill's the coach there. She was a star player in the 1990s for Nevada Union and played in NorCal games, so she could tell these kids what it's all about. Division 6 Saturday semifinal, Sac Adventist Academy at Fall River, way up by the Oregon border. It's a 230-mile drive, 4 hours. They're probably leaving at lunch. Number 3 Valley Christian Academy of Roseville is playing at number 7 Weed up there in Siskiyou County. That's some 4 or 5 hours away. So some road trips, they'll take it. Boys Division 1, NorCal games tonight, 6 p.m. Clovis North at Folsom. We touched on that. Granada at number 2, Intercom. Intercom lost the section semifinals in overtime to Sheldon, gets the number 2 seed in NorCal Division 1, has an excellent shot to win this tournament. We thought it might be Grant taking on Intercom. Granada beat him. Granada's got a 6'10" post. Division 2, San Ramon Valley at Elk Grove, the top seed. Elk Grove just won its first NorCal playoff game since 1995. Great job by Dustin Monday and his group. He's the longtime coach. Bishop O'Dowd at number 5, Vanden. We just saw Vanden. Vanden's had an emotional year. Win state football, win a section in basketball. They honor one of their fallen teammates. So that's the winners there. It could be Elk Grove versus Vanden on Saturday. Division 3, we just touched on Whitney. Whitney and Coach Nick French host Bullard of Fresno. Nick French is from Fresno. He knows that area, so I could see Whitney still winning. Menlo School of the Bay Area at Pleasant Valley of Chico, the number 1 seed. Why am I mentioning this? Pleasant Valley of Chico is the only team to beat Clovis West, which is 31-1, and the team that just beat Sheldon. So it's like, okay, how do you compare all that? Division 4, Urban of San Francisco at Liberty Ranch of Galt. Liberty Ranch is led by Drew Fisher and Cody Smith, and they have the great Goblin rooting section. Division 5, Priori at Denair. We like to say Denair because it's there. That's a member of the Sackville King section. Ripon Christian, another powerhouse in this section at Stewart Hall in the Bay Area. Bradshaw Christian of Sacramento at second-seeded Head Royce of Oakland. Bradshaw Christian, Cameron, is like the cockroach. You can't get rid of them. They lose in the section semifinals. They come back, and they keep winning in NorCal. So great job there. And there we have it. So I'm spent, Cameron. We got it all there. We got the NorCals rolling right along. You're going to be at Antelope tonight. I'm going to check out Endercom, and we'll see how it goes. Any closing thoughts before you play the piano?
I just think
it's not really there. That's some just visual backdrop.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I mean, I really believe that whoever wins this McClatchy Antelope game could go the NorCal final. I mean, I think there's a path. I mean, both teams have star power and both teams have enough to win it all. I'm really curious to see if we get an Elk Grove Vanden game. I think that'd be a really interesting matchup for a lot of ways. And obviously that would ensure that we have a team from the Sac Walking section, the NorCal Division II final. And so it's going to be really interesting. I know it's kind of at this point. I mean, I know we also mentioned Oak Ridge plays top seeded.
Carondelet.
Yes, Carondelet. And I mean, it's a tough matchup because if Oak Ridge wins that, then they probably have to play at number 2 Mitty, who I think has been the best team in Northern California for years. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens and transpires. I just hope that we get local teams, because then now we have baseball starting up, and I mean, it's already started, but we'll have rankings and stuff like that on Monday. So it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to it.
No, it's great. And we're glad to have you on the board. You're doing great work. Check out Cameron Salerno on Instagram, Cameron Salerno Media there. Easy to find on Twitter. If you got any gripes and complaints, even about gas prices, email Cameron. You could blow them up. We appreciate you.
We'll see you here.
Yeah, we'll see you soon, Cameron. Take care. Play that piano one more time. And we thank everybody else. We thank Jim Silva and David Caraccio, our back behind the scenes guys who make this thing work, our great photographers, Sarah Nevis, Javier Mascarenas, Paul Kitagaki, just do great work. And we thank the readers and the fans and the viewers here. And we're going to keep this going because high school sports matter big time around here. We thank everybody. If you missed part of this show, it'll link later, the whole show and previous episodes as well. We thank everybody. We'll talk to you real soon.